Good morning, dear students. In the last class, I have taught you different categories of object, right? So, whatever the things that are present in this world, we represent that as an object. So, in the last class, I taught you how to represent those objects in the knowledge base. Similarly, there are certain mental objects also. So, what is mental objects? So, mental object in the sense belief, like Spider-Man can fly. So, that is a belief. Like Superman can fly. So, all these things is a belief. So, those belief statement also we can represent in the knowledge base. So, all these things I have taught you in the last class. Okay. So, today is the last class in our third unit, for our third unit. So, if you see in this unit 3, the last topic is reasoning systems for categories, as well as I am going to teach you about reasoning with default information. So, last class I taught you about objects, how to represent objects in the knowledge base. In today's class I am going to teach you about reasoning, how reasoning can be done in the knowledge base. So, why we need reasoning? So, reasoning in the sense, suppose if you are using forward chaining and backward chaining and you are inferring that someone has done a crime. Okay. So, I have already taught you John like peanut. Similarly, there is another problem like American West is a criminal. So, if you want to prove American West is a criminal, you have to go through all the sentences that is given in the database and you have to prove that American West is a criminal. So, this kind of mechanism you call it as inferring. Okay. So, either from initial state to the goal state you can proceed, that you call it as forward chaining, or else you can move from the backward chain or the backward or the conclusion to the initial state, that you call it as forward chaining. So, all these mechanisms you call it as inferring mechanisms. Okay. So, when we do this inferring, either using forward chaining, backward chaining or using resolution, there is a possibility of error also. Sometimes when you do an inferring mechanism, there is a possibility of some errors. So, to avoid that you need a truth mechanism in our artificial intelligence. Okay. So, that is why we are going for reasoning. We are going to check whether the inferring mechanism has been done correct. Suppose if there is a mistake in inferring, you have to backtrack and you have to proceed with the another sentence. So, for that only we are going for reasoning. We need a mechanism to check whether the things that is inferred using forward chaining, backward chaining or resolution is done correctly. Okay. So, I hope you have got a clear idea why we need to study this reasoning concept. Okay. Right. So, now we will get into the topic. So, reasoning system for categories. So, if you see, to do a reasoning for categories, object categories, there are two types of reasoning mechanism. The first one is called as semantic network and second approach you call it as description logic. So, semantic network, it is related to neural network, you would have heard it earlier. So, semantic network, if you see, it is nothing but representation of sentences in a graphical manner. So, you can see it is semantic network is nothing but representation of sentences in the form of graphical in the knowledge base. Okay. So, if you see here an example I have given here, if you see I have object here as mammal and it has a subdivision like person. So, this person can be classified as female and male, and we have an example object for female as Mary and we have an example object for male as John. Okay. So, these are all objects, mammals, persons, female, male, Mary, John, these are all objects. So, the objects can be represented in the semantic network, this is one. Secondly, it represents the relationship between the objects. So, you can see here the person is a subset of mammal. So, from the mammal only one subset is person. Similarly, female as well as male are the subset of the person. Female and male are the categories of person. Similarly, Mary is a member of female, it is a category of female, and John is an example of male. Okay. So, this represents the relationship between objects also. First, it represented the objects in the knowledge base. Second, it represents the relationship between the objects in the particular knowledge base. Okay. Third one, it represents the categories among the object. So here what category we have? Mammal has a category like person. Person has two categories. What are they? Male category as well as female category. So third, this semantic network is used to represent the categories among the object. So there are three things that can be represented with the help of semantic network. The first one is individual object can be represented, example mammal. Second one, object category can be represented, example person has two categories, female as well as male. Third one, it can represent the relationship among objects. See here, the Mary is a sister of John, so there is a relation. Okay, female and Mary, if you see, Mary is a member of a category female. So you can represent the relationship between objects also. Okay, so this is the advantage of using semantic network. So with this, you can easily do the reasoning. So the entire picture of the knowledge base is given as a graphical representation. So with this help, you can easily reason in the knowledge base. So the second type of reasoning, if you see, that is using description logic. So description logic, in the sense, it is nothing but a formal language of constructing and combining categories. So it represents a syntax, it gives you a syntax. Like I have already taught you, like whatever we speak now in English, there is a syntax, right? There is a way to communicate. So if you see, present, past tense, so meaning, so everything is there, yeah, present tense, past tense. So how to speak, how to frame words, there is a syntax. So with that only we are doing a communication now. So in the similar way, so if you want to represent certain sentences in the knowledge base, there is a syntax or a formal language. Okay, so based on that syntax, if you represent, they are saying that it will be very easy for you to retrieve the information from the knowledge base. So the first method of reasoning was semantic network by representing in a graphical manner. The second way of reasoning is to represent that in a kind of a format, a formal language using a syntax, so that you can easily reason. So here is an example concept. So if you see concept, it consists of many objects. So you can have a thing and a concept name, or you can add more number of concepts with comma. And if you see, if you take all, you will have a role name, a name will be there, comma followed by concept or objects. Then at least if you take, you must have a integer value, comma a particular name. Okay, so like this, they have given a syntax for describing a formal language. So this is just an example. So if you are representing the facts in the knowledge base in the form of a format or a language, it will be very easy for you to do the reasoning. So the idea is behind this is just to follow a particular formal language using a syntax, so that you can do the reasoning very easily. Okay, so that is what. So these two mechanisms are used to do the reasoning for categories of objects. Now let's move on to the last topic of our third unit, that is reasoning with default information. How to do the reasoning with default information. Suppose if you are not having any kind of information, and nothing is available, so how to do the reasoning? So that is how it goes. So there are two things that can be followed while doing reasoning with the default information. The first one is circumscriptions and default logic. Circumscriptions and default logic. So if you see certain circumstances, like you don't know any fact at all. So what they are saying is, first assumption what you have to do is, it must be a closed world. So what is closed world? You have to describe about only this classroom. So you don't know what's happening outside the classroom. So this is a closed world. So if you take a closed world of a particular classroom, you have fan, you have light, you have projector, you have LCD screens here, you have a smart board, so you have an ordinary board. So you have different things inside a classroom. Okay, so but this is a closed room. So you have students here, bench, desk, all those things are here. So this is a closed room. So if you know certain facts within this closed room, you can represent it as true. If you don't know anything about there is no, you don't know about the facts, you don't know something about the next classroom, you don't know anything about the next classroom, what are the things present in the next classroom, then you have to make those facts as false. Okay, clear? So two assumptions has to be made. One, you have to take a closed room, closed world. So you cannot take the entire world, you have to take a closed world. In this closed world, what are the things you know, you must make it as true. What are the facts you doesn't know, you have to consider it as false. So this you call it as circumvention and default logic. Okay. Second, some kind of truth maintenance system. So there are actually three kind of truth maintenance system, that is TMS, JTMS, ATMS. So TMS is nothing but a simple truth maintenance system. So what this truth maintenance systems does is, it keeps track of the order in which the sentences are stored in the knowledge base. Okay, it keeps track of the order in which the sentences are stored in the knowledge base. So first sentence I may store like I have Professor Isaac has entered into the class. This is the first sentence. Second sentence, all students welcomed the professor who entered inside the class. Second one. Third one, he was handling the subject artificial intelligence. Fourth one, he started delivering the lecture. Fifth one, the students have started listening to his class. So like this, I have started adding the sentences into the knowledge base one by one. So what this truth maintenance system will do is, it will keep track of the order in which the sentences are stored in the database. So first sentence, second sentence, third sentence, fourth sentence, likewise, it will keep track of the order in which the sentences are stored inside the database. So what is the advantage of using such kind of truth maintenance system? The thing is, suppose if your system has given you a wrong answer, what you can do is, you can track. So if the fifth sentence seems to be wrong, so the fifth one is wrong means you can just move to the previous step, that is, you can take the value from the fourth step and you can do the re-inferring mechanism. Okay, clear? So when you keep track of the order of the sentences that is stored in the database, if one sentence seems to be wrong, the fifth sentence seems to be wrong, then you can move back, retrieve back or retract back to the previous sentence, that is the fourth sentence, and you can continue the inferring mechanism. So that is the advantage of using truth maintenance system. In case of failure or any drawbacks or any problem occurs in inferring, you can retrieve back to the previous statement using this truth maintenance system, because it has the order in which the sentence is stored. The second one is justification based truth maintenance system. In this justification based truth maintenance system, what it does is, for whatever the sentence you store in the knowledge base, you must do a justification why this particular sentence is stored in the knowledge base. If someone is entering in the classroom, I can enter the sentence in the knowledge base that someone has entered, so and so professor has entered inside the classroom, and with that I have to do the justification why I have entered that particular sentence. Because maybe in this class a professor named P1 has entered, in the next class professor named P2 has entered. So all are seems to be the professors, but I am storing the same sentence again and again into the knowledge base, right? Professor has entered the classroom, professor has entered the classroom, or student A1 has entered the classroom, student A2 has entered the classroom. So you need a justification why that particular sentence is added into the knowledge base. So in case of any problem, in case of inferring, what you can do? You can know why that sentence has been added into the database. So that is reasoning. So justification based reasoning maintenance system, it has justification for each and every sentence that is being entered into the knowledge base. The third one is called as ATMS, that is assumption based truth maintenance system. So in assumption based truth maintenance system, what the system does is, for each and every sentence that is stored into the knowledge base, it does the explanation for that. So if you want to store a particular sentence into the knowledge base, it must also store the explanation why that information is stored into the knowledge base. For example, the car didn't start. So that is the sentence, the car didn't start. So if you want to store the sentence that car didn't start, you have to do an explanation why that car didn't start. Maybe because of battery problem, or there is no fuel or no gas. Okay. So the explanation has to be also stored into the knowledge base when it is normally referred in the database. Okay. So that you call it as ATMS. So ATMS, if you see, it must provide the reason. Not only the reason, it must do an explanation why that particular sentence is stored in the knowledge base. For example, if you take the car didn't start, the car didn't start. So if you take this particular sentence, if it needs to be stored into the knowledge base, you must make an assumption or an explanation like the car didn't start because of fuel or the battery got drained. Okay. So the reason or the explanation must also be stored into the system so that it can do the reasoning. So I have taught you three kinds of truth maintenance system. The first one is simple truth maintenance system, where it represents the order in which the sentences are stored. So in case of problem, you can move to the previous sentence. The second one is justification based truth maintenance system. So there, for storing each and every sentence in the knowledge base, you must do a justification why that sentence is stored. Okay. Third one, that is ATMS, assumption based truth maintenance system, where if you want to store a sentence into the knowledge base, you must do an explanation why that particular sentence is stored into the knowledge base. So justification, explanation and order. So these are the three principles that are used to store the sentences and the reasoning that can be done with the help of this truth maintenance system. Okay. So in today's class, I have taught you in detail about the reasoning among objects as well as the reasoning with the default information, and with this we have completed our third unit. Okay. So in the fourth unit, I will be teaching you in the next class, and I will be handling about augmentation, and I will be teaching you about agents. Okay. So different agents in the fourth unit. Okay. Thank you.